A hot high school student looked out of the window and turned to her classmate. "Yan Min, what are you doing so suspicious there?" Her friend named Jan Ming was very surprised to see her. He pretended to be looking for a toilet there. Jan Ming was a tall guy with blue eyes and slightly disheveled hairstyle, who was 18 years old. It remained only 3 months before the state exam for entering a higher educational institution. Pretending that he does not notice her by Jan Ming continued to leave the educational institution away. "Jan Ming, only 3 months left before the exam. How are you going to go to the university?" his classmate asked. Thinking about this, Jan Ming understood that even pigs could go to the university. Why would he do it? He's just not such a guy, and there is no more worried about him. He asked his girlfriend named Chen Hirin not to waste time in vain. The excited Shadow Yan peered out the window and asked me to give up to Ming, although she saw how he again escaped from school. Suddenly a tall, strong guy came up behind. It was a class headman and says that you are too naive. You are too naive. The headman continued to say, "You know what kind of man Jan Ming is? If he wanted to study, he would have taken his head for a long time. It just differs from us. You should stop taking care of such a student." The excited crown understood that she was feeling. She was sure that Jan Ming was not at all such a person. There was some kind of anxious feeling inside. Another moment, and Yana Min crossed the fence. He was searched for by school security. The behavior of such a sloppy affects all other students. How difficult it is to be a school guard. In the meantime, Jan Ming hid under the branch of the bush and disappeared from the eyes of curious guards. He fooled them again and cleverly climbed out into the street. Walking on the street, he felt completely free. Maybe for starters to go to play billiards, thought Yan Min. On the way to billiards, Jan Ming thought that in fact, the point is not that he did not want to study. He remembered his classmate, a sweet girl named Su Ai. Even in high school, he was the best student in the classroom. This was his first love. They tried to solve the task in mathematics. A young creature, a girl with eyes sparkling like diamonds. But something went wrong. They were told to immediately go into the teacher's office. The teacher already had Father Jan Ming and his girlfriend. The enraged father of Jan Ming cursed at him and asked what he had done this time, a little bastard. "Everything was destroyed by my class teacher." He said his parents, for which the father painfully hit his son right with the teacher. "Dad, I did nothing. What the hell, you hit me? You are still lying. The teacher already told me everything." The father continued to be angry. The girl's father pressed her to him and explained that if you want to find a guy, you should not communicate with people like him. Look at him, a family. They are poor. The girl listened to all this, bursting with tears. And only the teacher was delighted. "The SU family is rich. I am like a princess. How can she be friends with someone, it seems?" Yan Mina. Probably because Su I was still very young, by Yan Ming. All because the girl's father bribed the teacher to follow her, reporting on any events. Clouding to the cigarette, Jan Ming recalled that incident. "After that case, I changed the school, and the teacher lost his benefit, sophisticated his anger on it. Thus, he got sick of learning. But the most unpleasant thing happened after that at dinner. His father wished him good luck to pass the state exam. Walking instead of a school, he thought it may be worth returning at least to the last lesson." A video of an old man who tried to sell his junk and suspicious personalities began to pester him, demanding that he pay for permission to trade here. Hearing how they molested the old man, he could not pass by and decided to help him. Gopniks attacked the old man and extorted his payment for the opportunity to trade their trash in this place. The indignant old man could not understand what was the matter. "I did nothing against you, so why you are trying to complicate my life? You think you can get rid of us with a few words," screamed at him one of the rehearsal. "I gave you a chance, but you yourself wanted it." He grabbed the litter from his goods and scattered it in different directions. Young people went now very rude to the old man. "I will give you another chance if you bow and you will pray for mercy. Then maybe I will let you go this time. Otherwise you can't trade in this area anymore," the racketeer said. Watching all this, Jan Ming decided to intercede for the old man and help him get rid of these scum. "What the hell did you arrange here?" He turned to one of the hooligans. One of the hooligans recognized him and named by the name of Yang He. In this case, he is translated as an older brother or as a respectful suffix. "Since you know who I am, then leave out of sight," said Jan Ming. "Haha. Did you think that we still respect you? Calling you Yan Ge? Your time has come out. Now I'm a boss here," said one bully. "Didn't you hear?" Liang Ge said. "Or are you deaf? You have not a boss for several years." The racketeers continued to speak. Only I did not listen to them. He grabbed his throat and lifted the air. "You're right, I'm no longer a boss, but I can still put your ass," said Yan Min. "Enough. Forgive me and let go." The frightened river began to whine. Meanwhile, his partner grabbed a brick and decided to strike using such a moment. The second river came up behind and hit him with a brick. I did not expect this, but the brick broke directly on the body of Janmina. He looked at him with a hot gaze. You dared to attack me from behind and hit me from the back. I instantly Ming scattered these hooligans. One hit the chest with one. The second got a juicy blow directly into the jaw, from which they fled in different directions. Having straightened his jacket and tucked the shirt, Ming turned to the old man. Old man, do not trade near schools. Bandits usually hang out next to them. Better try in the grocery market. The old man has flashed his eyes. Are you really a student of the Temple Shaolin? How would you recognize the technique of gold armor? The old man asked. Old man, you clearly counted a lot of novels or reviewed a lot of comics, said Ming. If you do not have a strong chi, then how else did you safe after a brick hit? The old man asked. Ming took out a case from a pocket in which there were glasses. After a brick blow, they completely broke. My father worked a lot to buy these glasses. With great regret, I saw Ming. You should not worry like that, a young man. If I just have glasses for you, a gift, the old man said, and handed him a mysterious box. You pay me for broken glasses, inquired by Ming. Do not worry, the old man has ready. Made glasses, they use the most advanced technologies in the world. Initially, I wanted to give them to a good person, and I am sure that you, young man, are a very kind person since childhood, so I give them to you. Perhaps I will take these glasses that you praise, like this is an advertisement of a miracle. Ming took the box and carefully examined it. Having opened it, he saw there a neat case with contact lenses and some kind of note. After Ming looked from the box, the old man was no longer anywhere. He seemed to evaporate. Seeing how he quickly disappeared, Ming thought that he could be a legendary master from another world. He spent quite a lot of time on the street and decided that it was time to return to school. Maybe he would still have time for the last lessons. Meanwhile, classes, graphs, drawings, and other arithmetic calculations, which obviously would not be useful to anyone in real life, continued at the school. Trying to understand everything that the tedious teacher explains, Ming could not stand it, and tore the notebook into pieces. Putting his head over his desk, he thought about the fact that he was sitting in the classroom and does not understand anything. He looks like a cross in class. One small action pulled him out of such deep thought. Then a small piece of paper flew to his collar. It was a small note of the sprinkled very tightly. He turned the note and read, You finally returned to study, so why not do everything properly? Until the end of the third year, there is very little you try. This note was from his classmate, who was sitting next to him and looking at him with a huge appetite. Thank you for believing me, he thanked his classmate. There are 100 days left before the exam, so I have 5 days to study the book. However, I missed a lot. It is better to start with mathematics for grade 9. For the sake of my father, and I cannot give up this beauty. He decided with firm confidence. The bell rang in the class, and the teacher demanded to postpone all the textbooks and announced that we would have a test. A young, red-haired mathematics teacher said that there will be another test work. You have 40 minutes to write it. The students began to be indignant, as they did not even have time to prepare. Apparently, this was necessary for the teacher. She wished them good luck. One of the classmates offered to rely on him. He will help him to write off. So they did it many times. Ming thought that he still did not understand. He would have to write off from a classmate. But how he would do it if those bastards broke his glasses? And then he remembered the lenses that the old man. Ming took out the box and gently removed the contact lenses. I just put them on, he thought. There was nothing to lose. Having hooked the contact lens with the tip of his fingers, he carefully leaned her to the eye. Wearing the contact lenses, he had to flink a little so that they sat in their place. The student from the first desk showed him ready, made controls. He could only write them off. But he did not know if he could see a small handwriting in these contact lenses. He struggled to consider small handwriting with the correct answers. What is the use of these contact lenses if they do not work? Outraged by Ming? He was very annoyed, as he could not write off the correct answers. At that moment, he felt a strange sensation in his eyes. There was clearly something wrong with contact lenses. Another moment, and before his eyes began to appear symbols and answers that were written on the sheet of the first desk. It seems that he looks through the glasses of virtual reality. He saw everything that happens around and at the same time clearly saw the text written on a sheet in the smallest details. It is difficult to understand this situation. What happened to his eyes? And the eyes began to rush, and the image disappeared. Strange things, for a moment, the image disappeared, and there was no use from these contact lenses. He decided to concentrate and try again. He needed the image to recover. This time he succeeded, and he again saw the correct answers. I will stick out into the contact lens from one eye. He realized that the headache is associated with them. At that moment, the teacher turned to him so that he would not be distracted and concentrated on the test. She so sharply approached him and made a remark that Min was very scared. "I apologize. Do not scare this. I just got these contact lenses. I was very uncomfortable in them. Hurry up to put them on. 20 minutes have passed and you didn't write anything," the teacher said. "If you want, I can help you put on contact lenses," she suggested. "Oh, that would be very good." She leaned toward him and gently corrected the contact lenses with her finger. First one, then the second. All this time, her big breasts were approaching the face of Mina. He could not take his eyes off her chest. "Why are you frozen? Your lenses are in place. Hurry up to write a control work," the teacher said indignantly. He was so carried away by the study of her neckline that she even gave him a shalban to bring him to life. "Thank you very much," the teacher thanked her by Ming, trying to hide his embarrassment for a slight smile. And then he realized that it was worth taking off the contact lenses, and he could again see normally. At that moment, he realized that these contact lenses are a real treasure. The bell of the end of the lesson rang. Pupils began to rummage through classes. Ming went to the window and tried to consider objects that were very far away. In the distance, he drew attention to the fence, which already saw a large number of times. But now she was attracted by one small detail that he could not notice before. It was a small hole that he saw very well now, and all this is thanks to unusual contact lenses. He thought a completely different matter, because he can use them during the exam. But there are some difficulties whom he can write off in the exam. After all, even if he sees the answers, as he can understand whether the correct answers or not. And then he saw a note from the Rinsen. Then he realized that he was very lucky, because he dreamed of him last night, just like lines from his beloved poem. Late at night, I go to bed. I listen to the rain wearable by the wind, and at dreams I see a tear in a bikini on the beach. But unfortunately, all this was in a dream and was vague, and he so wants to see the real Rinsen, and even without clothes. At that moment, a delicate female voice distracted him. "Ming, the teacher wants to see you in the teacher's lesson." Turning to this voice, he saw a girlfriend of Atun with one small feature. He saw her only in his underwear. From what he saw, he opened his mouth. She stood in front of him, in delicate pink underwear and long white stockings. "Chen Sityan, why did you ask in this form? But what was wrong?" asked the Rinsen in surprise. Trying to cover her eyes with his hands, Ming asked why she did not put anything. Trying to understand what was happening, the manner asked that she did not put on it? "What are you, sick? Don't you see my outerwear?" Ironnown asked indignantly. Continuing to consider her delicate linen, he said that he really sees her black pink kit. He could not endure this, and immediately gave him a slap in the face. "What is wrong with your eyes, shameless?" Rubbing his cheek from the blow, he could not understand why he was shameless. It was on it nothing but underwear. Stop. Something is not so somehow suspicious. For a moment he thought, the tarnish could not come to the class in one underwear? Is it all thanks to contact lenses? He tried and closed his eyes. We must check again. What was his surprise when he opened his eyes and saw that she was standing in front of him, completely in clothes. "Sorry, apparently I did not fully woke up." So it seemed to me that Ming tried to quickly rectify the situation. Having straightened her firing skirt a little, she thought, but how he found out what color I have underwear? Are his dreams so true? Walking along the school corridor, he tried to understand that it was all thanks to the new contact lenses with which he could see through his clothes. Right before the Anowness called him, he thought about seeing her naked, and probably I can control this power of thought. You need to try again to check all this. Do not disappear to such good. Being in the middle of the school corridor, Ming was completely surrounded by girls. But he decided that he would not look at them. He decided that in order to see the obscenity, he would go to the end. If he wants to see the girl naked, he himself must force her to undress. This is how a man should do the present. Having gone a little outside the school, he found his target. A strong guy stood on the porch and examined something on his phone. It was a strange strong guy. because he held the phone with one hand and continued to pull his dumbbell. John Ming concentrated and decided to see what was under his clothes. Like X-rays, he began to shine through his windbreaker. Under the windbreaker, he saw a shirt. This was not enough. He continued to study further. Having concentrated his gaze on his trousers, he decided to find out what his underwear he had. Damn it, disgusting. This pitch had pink panties and a white speck, and even with a yellow bow. "Hey, look where you wrapped the moron. You are tired of living." A rocking pitch turned to him in a formidable voice. "You told me I asked Yan Min." Upon learning of him, the rocking asked for forgiveness. He did not immediately notice him. I'm sorry, I hope you will forget about this incident," the pitch said embarrassingly. "Brother, I just want to tell you that the guys should not wear such a screaming underwear. Be more restrained." "I do not believe my eyes. How does he know what my linen is? Does he really have X-ray vision?" Returning to the school corridors, John Ming thought what the teacher wants from him. For a moment, he plunged into his dreams. Maybe she needs me. Maybe it will be a date. After all, the teacher has an adult body than that of the minion. Maybe I should look at her and study what her underwear is. These thoughts did not give him rest. He decided not to develop them further and stop thinking about it. Feeling complete confidence. But he decided to enter the office of the teacher. The young teacher only turned on his favorite solitaire on the computer. John Ming. "You could not knock on the door before entering," she shouted at him, trying to close the computer monitor with her breasts. At that moment, Jan Minus remembered the old Chinese proverb, "Who does not do bad." He was not afraid of so much at the door. "Teacher Zhao, are you hiding something?" John Ming asked. "Do you really think that I have something to hide?" The teacher tried to make excuses. "You just would not have been scared if you were not trying to hide anything to expose her by John Ming." What a strange student. Thank God that there are no other teachers here. Otherwise they would be ashamed of them, the teacher thought. "Let's get down to business. Why did you want to see me as a Zhao teacher?" Jan Ming asked. Damn it, it was my replica. As he dared to steal her, a young teacher was indignant. "You don't want to tell me anything?" the teacher asked indignantly. In surprise, Yan Ming even asked for what exactly he had to say. "Oh yes. Thank you very much for the help with the lenses. The teacher Zhao. Now it is much more convenient in them. I was going to come and thank you for it. But I thought that you were busy with work, so I decided not to disturb you." The teacher looked at him with a grin and handed the sheet with answers, right? "If you did not have these lenses, how could you write off on the test?" He did not expect to hear this. What an imposition! I do not understand what you are talking about, Teacher Zhao." The teacher showed 2 sheets with answers. "You want to say that this is just a coincidence?" she asked. "The same errors in both tests are very the same." And then he remembered that he had forgotten to change some answers when he wrote off. Looking at her luxurious neckline, he was immediately distracted and could not think about the test. Trying to justify Yang Ming a little, said that the world is huge, and this can be just a rare coincidence. "John Min, just look at yourself." The teacher continued to scold him. "You walk lessons, get involved in fights, write off on the control." "Therefore I made a bold decision," the teacher Zhao said. "From today, you will come to the teacher's office after class. I will study lessons with you," said the teacher Zhao. These words thundered like a thunder in his head, as if lightning broke his surprised face. John Ming was clearly not ready for this. To say that this is a tragedy is like saying nothing. He still had to digest these thoughts in his head. From such news, he really got his head. But she did not hurt for long since someone called him by name. It was a tall guy neatly dressed with a blue tie. He went up to him and said that they needed to talk alone. "Is this Van Zhetao? This guy is known for protecting the first beauty school." As soon as they started the conversation, as Minion intervened in him. "It stand you both? You decided to start this conversation because of me?" "Minion, this is a male conversation. You do not need to intervene," said Van Zhetao. Hold his emotions. He tried to dissuade me to intervene in the conversation. But inside him, everything was in full swing. He clenched his fists so that they were already white. Another moment, and he decided to express everything right in the face of Yan Min. Having put out his index finger, he seemed to report to young Mina. "I retreat this time because of minor Yan. But let me warn you, be careful next time. And follow your tongue. You can't talk carelessly with the Manian," said Van Zhetao. Jan Ming did not listen to it all and beat off his hand. "Do not scream at me, and do not go into your own business." Yan Ming said calmly and confidently, "Your mother. I wanted to intercede for Yin Yang, and in the end I look like a complete idiot," Wang Zhetao thought. Feeling his loss, he was going to leave, and casually over his shoulder decided to express everything that he was thinking about John Ming. "Look at yourself. You should know your place and keep it away from the brigade, Van Zertao said. Hearing this, John Ming sent him to hell. The furious Van Zertao was only able to clench his teeth and muttered something slurred. Leaving him, Jan Ming thought that classmate is complete dumbass. Feeling her guilt, the Rinsen turned to Yan Min. Are you really going to take a walk again? Because self-education will begin soon? The Tinsen in our class is full of other students. Why you can't just lag behind me? And Yan Ming asked about someone else. The tinsel really thought why not switching her attention to another student. But there was one snag. I am the head of the class and you're the only one who constantly walks the classes, so I have to change your behavior, said the Vane. Is it all then, if I have problems with my studies? Can I ask you for help? Ian Ming asked. Of course you can, suddenly answered the Brown. Jan Ming felt that his heart was crashed. But unfortunately, he did not understand anything. And he could also ask her to work out with him and use this opportunity to be alone with her. This was the end of their conversation, and they parted in their studies. Yan Ming still decided to go to self-learning. After all, so he can get closer to this beauty. The process of self-learning was completed, and finally high school students could go home. A strict driver near the black Mercedes asked the young Mr. Wang who angered him. Van Zertao plunged into his memories from this. It became completely embarrassed. This bastard poor man, by the name of John Ming, dared to go against me, Van Zertao said. The driver of the car turned and asked who was so daring that he went against our dear master. Should I fill his face, or explain that he is wrong? No. So far it is not necessary. Today we had a small dispute. It will be suspicious if something happens to him. They can think about me, Van Zertao said with a grin. Leaving the school territory on the black Mercedes, the driver told him to warn him when he wants to deal with him. Meanwhile, John Ming raced home on his bicycle. His shortness of breath began from speed and even sneezed a little. The next day he was met by another classmate. Without believing his eyes. Brother, did you really decide to study? And this is all for the first beauty of the school? Dude, do you really read the textbook? You even hold it correctly by the side, the classmate asked. Jan Ming studied the textbook and understood that this was all because of the contact lenses in which he could cheat a little. But for what he did, for the sake of a pretty classmate, or maybe for the sake of a delicious young teacher, or in order to give his father a little calm down. Studying the textbook, he just discovered a new curious function of contact lenses. He may not turn over the books, see all their content through. Although some pages are turned upside down, but if I look carefully, I can read everything. Thinking about this, he realized that in the state exam it would be easy. He tried to drive away these thoughts and still focus on studying school material. He looked at the classmate again, and thought that today he did not walk and began to engage in more diligently. Therefore, she does not need to worry about him. Having thought a little, he decided to write her a small note. The beauty of the Manian was sitting all immersed in study when a note flew to her. This is really a note that John Ming has just passed. They burn impatience she tried to open as soon as possible. The following was written in the note. I will study hard for you. This is what John Ming wrote. And then the beauty of the Manian was in complete confusion. Is it really a recognition from him? Should she immediately tell him that it was impossible? Whether it would be too hard? If I reject it right now, he can fall into despondency, give up, and stop doing. These thoughts more and more dragged on the rod. She looked at him again and decided not to pull with the answer. I immediately wrote a note. Jan Ming was beside himself with joy, since the note was the following. I hope you will keep your promise, wrote Menyan. He really liked this answer, because she did not reject him. That is, she silently agreed. For himself, he noted that Menyan is a very restrained girl. Walking along the school corridor, he remembered that it was time to learn from another beauty, in the office of the teacher. Approaching the office, he heard that there was someone inside. Zhao In. I ordered a table in a restaurant this evening and wanted to invite you to have dinner with me, the male voice said. I am very sorry, but I don't have time. I have classes with a student tonight, the teacher answered. Jan Ming was not long in coming for a long time. He immediately knocked on the door as he was asked last time. But in response, he heard a male voice who asked who came there, that he had come to the Teacher Zhao. But the rude man replied that she was not here, and that he would leave. Jan Ming turned the door handle and went into the office. An interesting picture opened to his eyes. A rough bastard stood with a bouquet of flowers and tired the teacher, Entering the office, the joyful John Ming saw a teacher, and of course she immediately greeted her. An enraged boyfriend screamed at him, "Who you are, who allowed you to enter?" Immediately out of here, he continued to scream and waved a bouquet of roses. Without noticing him, Jan Ming passed him straight to the teacher Zhao. Ignoring the dissatisfied interlocutor, John Ming greeted the teacher again and asked if they could start practicing. The teacher Zhao turned to her boyfriend and asked him to leave because she had to deal with the student. The teacher threw the bouquet and fiercely ran out of the class, not forgetting to slap the door deliciously. It turns out that a teacher among young guys seems to have a great honor for me to be alone with her, Yan Ming thought. Jan Ming asked, "Is this man who came also by the teacher of our school?" "Yes, this is a physical education teacher from now on. Try to avoid meeting him. I'm afraid that he wants to take revenge on you for such humiliation," the teacher said. "Avenge me as if he could defeat me in a fight. The teacher beats the student." "He does not want to work at this school," I asked Jan Ming. "The teacher suggested graduating from empty conversations and engage in studying. Come here every day after the lessons. I will walk with you in the evenings so he will not do anything to you." The teacher suggested that she somehow protect the student of this preoccupied physical school. They studied for a long time, and the teacher stopped her back, sitting in her chair. She arched so that her magnificent chest was ready to escape from a delicate blouse. I observed such a picture. Jan Ming simply froze in place, as if these two huge hemispheres swallowed. "John Mina, why didn't you go inquiring the teacher?" A little embarrassed by her question, he asked me to wait a little to take a breath. They studied at school until it got dark at all. Leaving the school, the teacher noticed that at night it was very quiet, even in such a noisy place as a school. "I feel embarrassed, going next to him at such a later time," the teacher thought. To somehow fix it, she decided to accelerate and increase the pace of her walk. Jan Min noticed this and asked where she was in such a hurry. An excited teacher really wanted him not to catch up, but could not say this. The analysis answered that she was cold and she wants to quickly get home. Jan Ming was a real gentleman, and he immediately realized what he needed to do in such a situation. He took off his jacket and threw it on the shoulders of a fragile girl. Feeling the warmth of a jacket, she felt safe, and she shared with him that she came to work alone in an unfamiliar city. A lot of time has already passed. She cannot remember when the last time someone took care of her. "I am a real man," Yan Ming said with a smile to defend the handsome man. "The teacher, Zhao, can call you the older sister," asked Yan Min. "Well, but only when we are alone," the teacher answered. "Do not call me that in the classroom. Otherwise, I will not talk to you," she added strictly. "Go out the territory of the school. 2 unfamiliar types blocked their roads. Heh. We finally waited for you." One of them, with impudence in his voice, said that this was a robbery. 2 assholes took out folding knives from his pocket and began to approach them, shouting that it was a robbery. The teacher Zhao was scared and, out of fear, tried to hide behind Yan Min. John Ming decided to use his contact lenses and saw that someone hid behind the garbage container. Looking a little closer, he found out that this is the very physical instructor that was in the teacher's office. This boob wants to arrange a performance. The hero saves the beauty, and at the same time to teach me, Yan Ming thought. The teacher by the shoulders so that she feels safe, and asked that the robbers want to pick up. Naughty was such a question. One even tried to remember what the physicist ordered to take. "Of course we will take money from you. Give us everything you have." Jan Ming said that they have no money, only their lives. This old Chinese saying means that they will not give them any money. "Stop lying," the robber shouted. "Give us your wallets, phones. Everything is valuable." A frightened teacher asked them to give them money. He reassured and said something else. "If they want our money, let them come up and take it themselves." The robber offered to search the guy, and the second would take a search of a girl. Almost forgot. Physical education ordered us to beat him well. The robber, who was more in size, was clearly not distinguished by the presence of the mind, but he had strong fists. He pounced on Yang Mina, and the first received his foot right in the chest. Following this, there were several more blows to the head, a fist in the jaw, from which the robbers began to call. The excited physical car was frightened that now they will give him out, and he would be exposed. He thought that he would get along with the student next time. Hairly the whiskers of these 2 morons, John Ming invited the teacher to go home. "Maybe we should call the police," the teacher asked. "It's not worth it. It will take too much time. Let me spend you home." They walked very little more, and the teacher said that he had to go home and she would come home from here. John Ming rejected this proposal in case there are other robbers. This is my sacred duty to accompany the beauty home. They walked very little more and found themselves at the door where the teacher lives. As soon as they crossed the threshold, Jan Ming asked where her toilet was. As soon as he went to her apartment, first of all, he hurried to the toilet because he could no longer endure. There is such a large toilet. There's also a bathroom, but why the light burns in the bathroom? Because they just came. On the other hand, this is not important. He wanted to quickly correct his need. And then a voice was heard from the bathroom. "The older sister that you have been writing so long?" she asked. Jan Ming was not ready to see an outsider in someone else's toilet. It was not just an outsider who was a beautiful girl wrapped in a bath towel. From surprise, she only managed to shout, "Who you are?" And the embarrassed Jan Ming was happy to see another beauty. This appetizing stranger, only underwear dressed, slammed the door and called him a pervert. Jan Ming did not understand what he did, why he was a pervert. "You interrupted my process, but I still need to go home." And then the teacher remembered that it was Xiao Yan. It cannot be that her girlfriend is now taking a shower. The teacher sharply opened the door and thereby frightened him. He stood in the toilet and held his hose so as not to spray the toilet. "You urgently need to leave here," the teacher said. The expression of her face was replaced by surprise to indignation, and vice versa. "I apologize to the older sister painfully to restrain the stream, and with you I can't finish you. You deliberately came to see Yan Ming. From such a fright, he can earn erectile dysfunction." She slapped the door and also called him a pervert. He was already lost. How many times in the evening he was called a pervert? He understood that he was again interrupted, and he had to finish it as soon as possible, since his bladder was already ill. "Beauty, I have already finished. You can show," playfully said John Ming. The teacher Zhao was delighted that he finally left the toilet. "The fact is that I share this apartment, hide for a short while in my room," and she pushed his room and slammed the door. Standing behind a closed door, he restored his breath a little, and thought that in one evening he was seen without his pants 2 girls, but he did not see anything. He burned with curiosity, and everything by the mercy of the opaque door of the shower cabin. An opaque door, damn snakes. I completely forgot about the special power of contact lenses, I thought Jan Ming. And then he caught himself thinking that peeping is a shameless act, but on the other hand, they saw him, so it would be fair. He firmly decided that everything was honest, and decided to use his contact lenses to make out everything in the smallest details. The teacher Zhao knocked on the door of the bathroom and turned to her girlfriend. She said that there was nobody in the room, and she could go out calmly. At that moment, Jan Ming stood behind the door and thought that 2 beauties were very close. The girlfriend opened the door and threw herself into the hot arms right from the bathroom. She just took a shower, and therefore she was only on the conflict of external blue underwear. Thanks to their contact lenses, like these 2 cute girls' hug, it started it very much. The next day at school, everything happened as usual. The young Mr. Ivan walked along the corridor of the school. At that moment his phone rang. "Young Mr. Ivan, everything is ready," said a voice in a telephone tube. A guy with green hair smoked a cigarette and asked the driver who they should take care of. The driver of Mr. Wan explained to them that he had not met him before, but he has a photograph. He came here to make sure that this same person, so wait for my signal. A guy with green hair was only delighted with such a proposal. He kneed his fists before beating some stranger. Jan Ming was just going out of the school courtyard as the driver called him. "Your name is Jan Ming?" he asked. Jan Ming replied that, "Yes. And who are you?" Looking at his phone, the driver realized that he was really he. A strict driver said that some ordered him to deliver a message. "You should stop, otherwise you imagine too much about yourself." "It seems that you have questions to me," Ian Ming asked. The driver with a gesture showed 2 scum to attack him. All this time, 2 bastards were hiding behind a tree and waiting for a signal from a driver to attack an innocent guy. As soon as they got closer, as they froze, seeing the devil in front of them, in the person of Yan Mina. "Yan Ge, you didn't understand that. This is a misunderstanding. We did not want to attack you. I apologize," the guy with green hair said in the head. "This older brother, in dark glasses, seems to have said that you are or asked by John Ming." 2 scum of fright ran away, apologizing, and said that next time they would certainly invite him to a cafe to eat. The indignant driver asked where these 2 bastards were running away, That 1,000 yuan that you suggested to us. You can leave it to yourself. The indignant driver suggested, screaming that it was impossible, because they have already agreed on everything. The guy with green hair stopped his indignation and said that if he insisted, he himself would receive from them in the face. The driver was left with nothing. His saviors had just scattered in different directions. Ming understood that someone wants to beat him, but who was worth it to figure it out? And then Ming remembered. It should be the head of the class that is angry due to the fact that Ming got closer to the minion. It is worth asking him himself. Ming found him in the dining room of school, and at that moment he was waiting for a call from his driver. "The headman, why you do not dine?" asked Ming. From such surprise, the headman nearly dropped the phone out of his hands. Susping, he said that he was not hungry. And did I ask, didn't I go home? Why he was here? I remembered that there was no one at home, so I didn't go. I heard that delicious sandwiches are sold next to the school, answered Ming, and thought to himself that this bastard itself behaves very suspiciously. Ming came out of the dining room whistling his favorite song, and the outskirts of the class realized that his plan seemed to fail. Min, I underestimated you. It seems to have to come up with a truly crushing plan. The headman of the class conceived something very insidious. He wanted Ming to lose everything. The family was at home at the dining table. "Son, recently your assessments have grown a lot. You and the teacher Zhao are doing every night. Your mother and I talked about a visit to her with gifts. What you say to it?" my father asked. Min did not expect such a question, Dads. Not worth it. The teacher Zhao is already my named sister, but I can't tell them this. He was trying to somehow get out of the position of Ming that it was better to treat the teacher Zhao dinner. The dad liked such an idea, and he even decided to give some money. Just find a good restaurant. Sitting at school in the classroom, Ming tried to deal with a difficult task. He was about to ask for help from a tune. At that moment, the headman approached him and said that he wanted to apologize to him. I was surprised to apologize. Whether he understood correctly, I did not rush. He wants to apologize strangely that this time he conceived this scum. The headman began to make excuses about the morning incident, that this was his fault due to the fact that he was jealous of him to Menyon. He still spoke a bunch of all unnecessary text at the same time, adding seriousness with gestures with his own hands. Having made an angelic expression on his face, he once again asked for forgiveness. I just want my conscience to not torment me. And as an apology, I've already ordered a banquet table in the restaurant Heaven and Earth. Ming stopped him. I apologize. I have additional classes. Until late in the evening I can't go. But also Ming thought that the restaurant Heaven and Earth is a place where rich people go, and since the headman decided to pay, then why not look into this restaurant? It's good to be so tonight by Ming then. Then I will wait for your arrival with reverence, the headman said. Min recalled the difficult task that he wanted to solve and turned to the Tinson for help. The headman's insidious smile said that his plan began to act. He was looking forward to his completion. What you talked about with the headman? Asked the Citian about anything. He wanted to invite me to dinner, Ming answered. He invited you, but you in the tail. But what really? She asked. In fact, he told me to stay away from you, I calmly answered Ming. Ming could not look away from the beautiful chest of the Menyon, and already completely forgot about the task. After the lessons, Ming, as usual, came to the teacher Zhao. She checked his results and was delighted that recently they were better and better. If this goes on, he will be able to catch up with the class in 2 weeks. Of course it will be, because I pay all my attention to you, I thought Ming. Looking at his cheerful expression on his face, the teacher asked, You now thought about something? Looking at your successes, I wanted to reward you. Let's treat you with delicious food, the teacher said. No, and how I can. And you teach me for free. You also want to treat me. I feel restless from this. Why no, teacher asked, while about paying my lessons, treating in a restaurant. Otherwise, I will take offense at you until the end of my life. Trying to save the situation by Ming agreed. So be it. I invite you to eat deliciously. Ming invited her to one of the Café Familiar, where they serve tasty and cheap food. Looking at this plate, the teacher asked the dishes clean here or not. He reassured her that there was a good place here. The institution has been working for 10 years. Here is very clean and also tasty and cheap food. The waiter confirmed that everything was true. The gentleman correctly said that this institution has long been working. You are not a local young lady, but your boyfriend is a local one. The teacher's teacher was outraged that the unfamiliar waiter called her a boyfriend. Leaving the restaurant, there was a feeling of awkwardness. To diffuse the situation by Jan Ming asked, "Do not take it to heart." The owner simply said the first thing that came to mind. "They always do that. You think I was ashamed to be your girlfriend." And he was very surprised that she was not angry. He thought she was angry because of this. Moving further in the dark lane, some vile type blocked the road to them. This is clearly a criminal, since he had a big scar on his face. Having grabbed a knife from his pocket, he ordered them not moving from a place, and again, everything that they have is valuable differently. He will kill them. Jan Ming thought that if he was alone, I was 80% sure. He would win, but he cannot vouch for the teacher. Jan Ming silently climbed into his pockets and took out the money that he had. He threw them to this criminal so that he would take it and removed as quickly as possible. The upset Teacher Zhao, kneeling and advanced her lady's handbag. Watching how they quickly followed his instructions, the robber said that the guy could go, before they had time to take one step as he turned again. "Stand. I said that you can go, but I did not allow the girl to leave." Hugging the Teacher Zhao by the shoulders so that she was more security, Jan Ming asked what he wants. The robber continued to threaten with a knife, laughed in his face. "You can go, but the girl will remain. Do not be afraid of the kid. I will let her go as soon as I finish." Jan Ming turned to Teacher Zhao and quietly told her that she would run away from here. Hearing this, she was very surprised that he decided to continue to do. Breaking off, Jan Ming prepared to strike an attacking blow. The criminal grabbed the knife and aimed right at him to shout so that he would quickly discard the hooves. Jan Ming deftly dodged the blow with a knife and instantly inflicted a crushing blow to the jaw. The criminal dropped the knife and lost his balance and resisted his feet, only due to the fact that the stamp into the wall. But the criminal was not enough. He still continued to shout something slurred, and he tried to somehow attack our main characters. In a fit of strong anger, he remembered his blow. He calls him the style of Yang. His favorite hit with a foot called a flying kick. He came directly to the chest of an evil criminal. After such a strong blow, he poured drops of blood from his mouth. The exhausted criminal was disconnected. No one can stand after a flying kick. Jan Ming approached him better to make sure that the offender is neutralized. In the pocket of the criminal's jacket, Jan Ming discovered a large pack of money. There should be this loot. Perhaps now they belong to me. Having examined the place where the criminal attacked them, Jan Ming found the teacher's handbag. "I wonder where she ran away," he thought. And here, thanks to his contact persons, he noticed that someone was hiding in a garbage container. Indeed, all this time she was hiding behind a garbage container. Hearing that the danger passed, she looked out. "You were scared by my sister to death," Jan Ming said in surprise. And then the most pleasant part took place. She rushed to him in his arms. He felt her dense elastic chest pressed against him. From excitement, he even felt the touch of firm nipples. "I was so scared. You are fine," she asked. Tears of joy performed in her eyes. "It's okay. But look at my face. And now I have a cut from a fight with a robber. What if I can't marry because of this defect on my face?" Jan Ming said. "You have blood." "You are joking. You can be at least a little serious," Zhao said. "I didn't joke a bit. I just worry about my future," Ian Ming said calmly, to somehow reassure him that in the future I will be your wife. "And now let's hurry to the hospital to treat your wounds." "Let's better go to your house," said Jan Ming. And then Zhao thought that she had just promised him. What would happen if he did not want her to be his wife? "Please, there is no need to go to the hospital because of such a scratch. You can simply process it at home." "You didn't think about anything strange?" Jan Ming asked with a smile. "I thought about something strange was indignant. She was worried about your face," she said indignantly. Without thinking twice, Jan Ming slowed down a taxi, and they went home. The taxi driver turned to him. "That with your face a guy, did he really run into any troubles?" "Yeah, they stumbled upon a robber," Ian Min answered politely. "Hey, young lady, it seems the guy loves you very much, since he proved himself like a man in the face of danger. Such men still have to look," continued the taxi driver. "Brother driver, my girlfriend is too attractive. Honestly, we have been attacked for the second time." From such conversations, Zhao was very embarrassed, because she understood that he was still her student. "She is a very beautiful girl, but you can't blame her for this. Try not to walk at such a later time. Now hold my business card, the taxi driver added. If you need to go somewhere in the evening, just call me, I will take you. The taxi stopped right near their entrance. They calmly went out and asked how much they were for the fare. Forget younger brother and sister. Better go home as soon as possible and take care of your damage. Thank you, the older brother. My name is John Ming. I am studying at the 4th Central School. Meet me when you have free time. Of course, you are a very pleasant person. We will drink together another time. The taxi driver politely said goodbye. Jan Ming proposed to spend her to the door home. One climbed to their floor, and Zhao knocked on the door so that Xiao Yan opened it because she had no keys. The door with a creak opened, and her girlfriend met them. As it was already very late, she slept in the same underwear. The older sister? You have already returned why you did not take the keys, she asked. Jan Ming was very surprised at this girlfriend. A dark purple lace robe covered her magnificent breasts quite a bit. Lace panties closed almost nothing. This is an ideal option for sleeping. All 3 people experienced terrible awkwardness in such a situation. As soon as she woke up, a little as she saw this guy in front of her again. From surprise, she covered her charms with her hands. She only managed to turn away and escape into her room, once again calling him a pervert. Zhao offered to wash her face with soap in the bathroom, then she will put his ointment on the wound. Already 10 o'clock in the evening, your family will worry if you will not return home soon. After half an hour, he was already moving along the street alone. Damn, she did not even offer him a drink, the girls are so heartless. Late in the evening, he returned home. Near one noisy restaurant, a small group of men crowded with beautiful girls crowded. Jan Ming noticed that someone pulled him by the jacket. I apologize, a young pretty girl turned to him. She was dressed as a young schoolgirl, in a short skirt and high black stockings. What asked Yan Min? The very young girl turned to him, felt terrible awkwardness and burning with shame. Even stuttering, she suggested that he did not want him to spend the night with her. The surprised Jian Ming did not immediately understand what she was trying to say. She was still very young, and it was evident how she pronounces it with great effort. Then she gained courage and said again, "You want to spend the night with me?" she asked timidly. To spend the night, Jian Ming did not expect to hear this right now. She looks so young and innocent. Is it really so lucky? It cannot be. Is it really the most legendary to spend the night together? Then with you the girls win, please boldly, said the girl. What? In surprise? Asked Jian Ming. 3,000 yuan will be repeated enough. This is my first time, is connected with this great excitement. The evening promised to be very interesting. Jian Ming was a little alarmed by these words. That is, you want to say that you are still a virgin? He asked. From such an awkward situation, the girl even performed tears in her eyes. Since this is your first time, why are you going for this? Do you really need money so much? Unable to restrain tears, they began to roll even more on the cheeks. Sleeps of tears. She said that she really needed money. Trying to calm her down at least somehow, he asked her to stop crying. I will buy you, only explain what happened. My father was knocked down by a car, and her driver escaped. We do not have enough money to pay hospitalization. The hospital was said that if we do not pay 3,000 yuan until tomorrow, they will stop treatment. He grabbed his hand. She pressed her to her soft chest. Please buy me. Jian Ming pulled his hand away. Inside, everything was torn apart, as if two demons inside fought with his feelings. On the one hand, he understood how sweet the soft she was. On the other hand, one should be a complete pervert to use it in such a situation. And then he remembered what happened to him that evening. He said that he had one proposal. He took out the money from his pocket that he took from the robber. He handed this money to this girl who stood in front of him. Take this money for the treatment of your father, and no longer return to this place, said Yan Min. Clutching this money in her hands, the girl remembered how the relatives refused today. One relative said that her cousin enters college this year, so we cannot give you money. And the doctor shouted that if they have no money, let them get out of the hospital. The hospital is not engaged in charity work. She hid the money and thanked him for such a generous gift. Morning begins in the court of school. Everyone is fussing and doing their own business. Sony Young Min came to school, and on the threshold he met several people. Teacher Zhao, what is happening here? What this policeman needs? Asked Jian Ming. The teacher explained that these police officers want to talk to him. I am a senior investigator of the City Police Criminal Investigation Department. Please trace the site with us. Investigators revealed his certificate and showed it. "You young Min?" the investigator asked. "John Min, you are suspected of involvement in the murder case. I hope the investigator said to your cooperation." The teacher intervened in this conversation and tried to protect the student. "Excuse me, but weren't you only going to ask a couple of questions why you want to pick it up? He is my student and is obliged to attend lessons. I am his teacher and will not let you pick him up." Surprised, Jian Ming asked what happened. What crime was being discussed? Investigators took him by the shoulders and began to take him out into the street. "Though or not, we will figure it out in the sight. The Teacher Zhao, please. Do not prevent the investigator, strictly prevent the performance of our duties." "Teacher, everything is in order, go to your home. I did not do anything bad, so I'm sure the investigation will clarify everything." Jian Ming tried to calm her down. Once in the police station, he was sent to the interrogation room. The investigator himself participated in the interrogation, and his assistant. A lot of questions fell upon him, half the age of the occupation where he lives. A strict investigator asked what he did last night. Without thinking twice, Jian Ming replied that he was engaged in a teacher until late in the evening. Then we went to eat meat with the noodles in a cafe. The indignant assistant to the investigator could not withstand these explanations and demanded that he turn to the essence. "Damn it, the old maid. I talk about this," thought Jian Ming. The investigator tried to somehow diffuse the situation and continued to ask his questions, where they stopped, what they ordered. The investigator's assistant could not stand them with her hands on the table that you had a memory. And with your manners, she asked that she was playing a good policeman and a bad policeman. Jian Ming tried to calmly answer all the questions posed. In the cafe they ordered beef with noodles. But he could not stand this pressure, and I made a remark of the investigator's assistant that she should learn the manners from her boss. Clutching her teeth with anger, she almost cut her fist right in his face. "Enough!" the investigator shouted. "He is right. How can you remain impartial if you behave like that? During the interrogation of the suspects, it is most unacceptable to be angry. So you can't find out anything, and even worse than your anger, nourishes their ego," the investigator said. Having reassured his assistant a little, I asked Jian Ming to continue the story. After we ate, we went home, but a robber met on the street. "The man about whom you are talking about we found without signs of life," added the investigator. "The forensics confirmed that he suffocated due to bleeding in the lungs." Surprised, Jian Ming could not believe these words. Did he really kill a man? "Tell me. And you set the personality, the one who attacked us?" I asked the Min. The investigator replied that they had already begun the investigation, but there were no results yet. He asked his assistant to go to check the data. Feeling your superiority, the investigator's assistant said that, "Now you knew fear. Enjoy the remaining time at large." Another assistant burst out the office shouting that they found information about this deceased. This person was put on the wanted list for robbery, rape, and murder. From the fact that the door of the investigator flew to the floor, sharply opened. From such a blow to the door, the investigator's assistant fell on a mine, dumping him from a chair. It is possible that the actions of Yan Mina are legal self-defense. From the surprise of the assistant, she fell directly on the young man, presenting him with her hips and magnificent breasts. Trying to come to her senses, she sat on him on horseback, her short skirt lifted up, showing that under her black tights there was light lower linen. "This will not work." "Blind from me immediately," said Jian Ming. Jian Ming was lying on the floor, and an investigator's assistant was sitting on him. "Why are you so heavy?" He tried to raise her and accidentally grabbed her with a lush chest with his hand. The whole body of the assistant immediately tensed from the surprise that you were tortured, she asked. Her eyes suddenly widened as soon as he felt a strong male hand on his chest. She tried to fight back, and as soon as possible to get out of such a sensitive situation, but it looked very ridiculous. The investigator put his hand on his shoulder and asked for forgiveness for taking so much time. "For your wonderful act, a reward is supposed to be. I will talk to the boss about this." The investigator also turned to his assistant to ask for forgiveness about Yan Mina, and quickly take him back to school. "I apologized to the commander, but I still had paperwork." The investigator's assistant was indignant. The investigator immediately reminded her that she was already repeatedly late this week, and her attendance this month was far from perfect. The assistant instantly portrayed a friendly look and said that everything would certainly be done. Another moment, and Jian Ming was already in the school. This old woman from the site so abruptly drove the car that he was almost sick. Sitting at the desk in the classroom, he tried to bring himself to his senses since his head was spinning and he was rocking. He did not notice at all how Menyon approached him. "Min, why didn't you have at school in the morning, and what about your face? Have you really gotten up again?" she asked. Ming only made excuses that recently I had a conscientious study, so that last night I worked hard. It's just that my head still hurts and is a little spinning. He barely forced himself to come to school. She leaned right over his face and said, "Hey, if everything is so serious, let me examine you." Ming only added that it is very close. "I am sick and only a kiss of the Menyon will heal me," said Ming and pulled his lips forward. "What are you doing?" The Menyon was indignant, and without hesitation she crashed his slap in the face. She rushed out of the class, burning with shame. "When you stop joking like that," she added. Running from the class, she thought that she needed to take the exam, and he spread such rude jokes. How frivolous he is. Maybe he is just nervous. Then I should cheer him up. How petty I am. And recently, he really diligently took up the study of a point if she demanded too much from him. Interesting. Is he just joking only with me? No, I don't think about that. I need to return and apologize. He threw his hands back and swayed a little on a chair. He thought that he was not lucky today, and the Menyon was angry. But knowing her character, she will probably apologize now. Closing his eyes and relaxing a little, he decided to wait for her in this position, continuing to sway in a school chair. Then the headman of the class unexpectedly came up. I did not expect such an approximation. The whore, what the hell, escaped from him. Due to such a sharp approach, but he accidentally pushed him and the table swayed and fell. For a fraction of a second, Min managed to grab Old Age by the tie in order to resist the fall. Due to the fact that Ming grabbed the tie, Van Gatao was facing his face in front of him. "Your mother. Why did you arise so silently?" "I apologize. I just came to remind you of dinner on Saturday." At that moment, Menyon ran into the classroom and thought that these two boys were trying to kiss. Two young guys were so close and looked into each other's eyes. Menyon could not even hide her surprise. "What the hell are you doing here?" she asked. "Menyon, this is not what you thought," Ming, lying on the floor, tried to rectify the situation. She asked for forgiveness that they were worried. "I really regret it." And also quickly sparkling with her cowards jumped out of the office. The teacher in the corridor accidentally noticed this situation. Ming knocked the headman to the floor. "Do you really want to completely destroy my reputation?" inquired. "Min, do not get excited. It was you who threw me to the floor, pulled the tie, tried to apologize to the headman." The teacher went into the office and saw this incomprehensible picture. "Ming, did you hear you released from the police station?" "The older sister, I don't know exactly what you thought, but this is definitely not what you think. I tried to rectify the situation by Ming." The teacher only watched all this from the side and understood that something bad was happening. In the evening, as agreed, Ming came to a restaurant. He thanked the headman for the invitation. "I have to thank you. Let's drink a little," suggested by the headman. "Buddy, I was wrong the last time. I will drink as a sign of apology, and as you want." Ming decided to support him and drink with him. Ming thought for a thought. This headman somehow changed dramatically, as much as if it was really up to something. "And it's so strong. My head is spinning and the whole body is on fire." The headman only chuckled and offered to eat and drink more. It seems he will be drunk in the trash if he had drunk so much. Ming did not understand that this was some kind of setup and decided to relax. He began to drink vodka directly from his throat. When the bottle was devastated, it fell loudly on the carpet. Very little time passed, and Ming could not keep himself on his feet. The vile elder came up and patted his cheek. "And he knows how to drink. If I had not added something to vodka, he would probably collapse before him," said the headman. The elder's eyes burned with anger. He looked straight into his face. "You are looking for death correctly, since he became my rival." Van Gatao invited his assistants to act according to plan. His two assistants were taken by Mina and dragged from the restaurant straight to the hotel room. "Drag him here, Van Gatao," approaching a certain number that was previously ordered. "Go, strip it and throw it on the bed," Van Gatao ordered. A very young girl was sleeping on the bed. Her eyes were blindfolded. She was dressed in a short skirt with black stockings, a shirt unbuttoned, and her large and elastic chest was visible. "It's a pity to give him such a girl." "Can allow you to take it first and try?" one assistant asked. Here is a boob? Do you even know how to turn on the brains a little? Van Jitao asked. What do you think the police will check the first thing? Added Van Jitao. Okay, we leave. I hope your medicine will work as it should. Did you check it? The guard asked. Young Mr. Van, is there no exclamation? I said something wrong, the assistant asked. Jan Ming began to recover a little. He could not understand why it was so hot. He burns and his head is spinning. He opened his eyes a little. He tried to understand that it smells so tasty. Where is I at the hotel and what kind of girl is this? Jan Ming tried to rise and understand what is happening around. Where did this sister come from? Didn't I drink with Van Zertao? Is it really a dream? Why are her eyes blindfolded? I have no such addiction. But no, it won't go. Okay, it's just a dream, I thought Jan Ming. The brother came. He pushed her leg and set to work. She only began to moan that she was hurt. Please stop, she continued. Then I slowly, added Jan Ming, and began to move slower. Damn. Even in a dream with girls, there are so many problems. But how nice it was, Yan Ming thought. At this time, the headman Van Zertao was outside the door with his assistants and hotel administrator. They heard moans and screams that the girls published. She called to the rescue and asked him to stop. Van Zertao said a few minutes later, Call the police. Do not be afraid to contact me later. And hold the camera ready when the police arrive. We'll take a good picture. Jan Ming was on the verge of excitement and was ready to finish. Another moment and this happened. The investigator's assistant poured milk to her beloved cat. A couple of hours before, the investigator reprimanded her that the road police recorded a police car that exceeded the speed. In my opinion, you will stay on duty tonight. At the same time, think about it well. Added by the investigator. After the end, Jan Ming began to come a bit. The busty stranger felt more joyful and much more relaxed. She even decided to smoke the phone after such a pleasant pastime. At that moment, a telephone rang in the police station. The investigator's assistant immediately picked up the phone and asked what was the matter. Good evening, you called the city police department, she said. Hello, I want to report a crime, said a voice on the other end of the wire. I am a visitor to the restaurant Heaven and Earth. I heard a woman's cry from room 315. She called to the rescue, said an unfamiliar voice in the telephone tube. My friend saw a drunken visitor from the room 315. He dragged the schoolgirl to his room. This is terrible. Thanks for your call. The police will soon come to place. The howl of police signals and the creak of brakes was not long in coming, in which case the police reacted very quickly. A couple of minutes passed and several patrol cars were already near the restaurant. Several police officers and the hotel administrator were heading right to number 315. Open the door immediately. They reported to us about the criminal inside. With a cry of the police, the investigator's assistant knocked out the door. She rushed to reassure the young girl. Everything is in order to help already here. She saved me. What the hell that you allow yourself? Jan Ming tried to understand what was happening and why the police twisted him. He gritted his teeth. He tried to pronounce him to be released immediately. What are we doing? Yan Min, you just raped the girl? How else do you have enough to sniff the arrogance? I did not expect from the fact that you would be such a pervert, the investigator's assistant said. Looking at this picture, I thought it was not a dream. How could this happen? He tried to figure it out. Do you think it's all a dream? The assistant to the investigator asked. Do you really think that you are still sleeping? I realized that you were a bad person at the moment when you first saw you. Even the police chief was deceived by you. The investigator's assistant added. Did I really do this? I just remember that I was drinking with Van Zertao. Really, this bastard set me up, Yang Ming thought. Enough of these conversations, you will see him, the investigator's assistant answered strictly. Very little time passed and Jan Ming was in a police station. Moreover, this is the same interrogation room. He was sitting in front of the police chief, who tried to figure out the intricacies of this matter. Yan Min, what have you done? He asked sternly. Chef, please listen. I was tricked. I drunk my classmate in the restaurant Heaven and Earth, and then a drug was poured for me. My head was as if in a fog and my body was burning. I could not control myself, said Jan Ming. Is that really true? So you say that your classmate deliberately set you up? I doubt your words. We will analyze your urine to find out or not, added the police chief. Analysis of urine? Why are there really not enough of my words? Yan Ming asked. Just use this paper glass. Later I will tell the assistant to send it to the laboratory for analysis. Should I really pee from him? Right here in the office? Yan Ming thought. As soon as he decided to pee into a glass, as an assistant to the investigator entered the office at that time. Chef, there is a statement from the injured girl, she added. What are you doing? She asked indignantly. How long should I tell you to knock on the door before walking? The investigator asked indignantly. Take a glass of urine and send it to the laboratory for an examination, the investigator added. A glass of urine for nothing, the assistant said. How dare you? Don't you know that we should take care of all people for justice? The investigator was indignant. I understand, I will do this. Well, now the assistant agreed. And then Jan Ming decided to teach this fiercely assistant. Let's go a dog with us. Let's go that then I won't eat 3 of the most difficult move. The officer, your hand is so trembling that you can shed my urine, added Jan Ming, and accidentally pushed off the glass that he spilled right onto the hand of the investigator's assistant. She was boiling with anger. Why should I take care of people like him? She was indignant. He took the glass with analyzes. She told him to enjoy his time still at large. We will still see who will laugh the last, she added. Jan Ming thought for some reason, this scene seems to him a little familiar. More recently it was the same. How this happened. No one understood. The slippery floor felt her long heels, but the investigator's assistant slipped. A full glass of urine for examination flew out of his hands and fell to the floor, spraying everything around. It turned out straight to the golden rain. The assistant to the investigator fell to the floor and doused with urine from head to toe. Her short skirt and black stockings were completely wet. The police chief only observed in surprise what was happening. Jan Ming wanted to make a little meanness for an assistant to teach her, but he could not imagine that everything would happen that way. Ah, how painful, she added. Rubbing her lower back, the assistant sat on the floor in a puddle of urine. The glass was completely devastated, since everything spilled onto the tights, skirt, and underwear of the assistant. The brilliant idea came to mind, and Jan Ming decided to clarify why she did this. You dropped my urine. How can I now prove my innocence? Why did you do this, really? Asked Jan Ming. What? Does this really mean that he will be imprisoned because of me? The assistant thought. She continued to sit on her knees, all in the urine, and began to apologize. She noticed that there was still a little urine in the glass. Maybe this was enough for an expertise. Jan Min, have you filled not 2 glasses of urine? The investigator specified, and sent the assistant home to change. I myself will take tests for examination, the investigator added. I apologize for my emotions. I am now all on the nerves, so I flashed, said Jan Ming. The whole assistant trembled with anger. For all the time, no one has humiliated her so much. She looked fiercely at him. What a bastard you are! The assistant rose sharply and was about to strike with a fist. But Jan Ming caught her hand in time and took the blow to the side. Jan Min put his right hand on her shoulder, and with his left hand he grabbed her wrist. Strong fingers squeezed her hand. She did not even have time to say anything. It happened so quickly. She only managed to say that she was painful. Is it true? It was you who taught me this technique, added Jan Ming. It hurts me very much. Quickly, let me go, the assistant moaned. You are a bastard. Now get away from me. All in tears and frightened, the assistant said. Then the investigator intervened. Jan Min, let her go right now. He screamed to the whole office. The assistant could not hold back her tears. Her shoulder hurt. I apologize, I did not want to. I apologized to Jan Ming. She looked at him, but her gaze was full of pain and suffering. All in tears, she found the strength in herself and left the office. Jan Ming tried to rectify the situation. Chef, I'm very sorry. I acted freely. You cannot worry about this. I will talk to her, added an officer. You will spend the night here, under supervision, until we get the results of the tests. And yet, you made a rape. Even if the results of the tests prove that drugs were added to you, you must prepare morally. I understand that this is really a difficult situation. Thank you for everything, added by Jan Ming. Jan Ming met this morning in a police station. Jan Min, wake up, the investigator said, who had just entered the office. Jan Ming, the results of the tests confirmed that you were under the influence of drugs, but all evidence was removed from the restaurant. The investigator said, I believe you, but the law does not work like that. The final decision will be made by the court. If so, can I at least see the injured girl? Jan Ming asked. I understand what I did is irreparable, but at least I want to be clarified before her. I'm afraid I can't give you the victims, but I will tell her the details of this business. The court decision may change in your favor if she forgives you. You are the main thing, do not give up. Your life trip is just beginning. Added by the investigator. Very little time passed and Jan Ming was already behind bars. As is usually the case in such places, several criminals surrounded him. Hey, a newcomer first-hander, why did you put you? One prisoner asked. Damn the vessels, Brother Bao addresses you. What are you, fucking deaf? Added the second prisoner. I am not in the mood today. Do not dare to approach me, Jan Ming firmly answered. What an arrogant child. The prisoner was indignant. Now I will teach you, he cried out, clenching his fists with anger. The prisoner waved his hand to strike, but Jan Ming was ahead of him, and inflicted a sharp blow with his elbow right into his chest cage. The prisoner did not expect such a turn of events. In surprise, the eyes almost climbed. The prisoner fell to his knees and grabbed his chest with his hand. He was very painful. "Where did your attitude go to fight?" asked Jian Ming. "I said that today I have a bad mood. So fast. This guy fights much better than me." I noticed the prisoner. "Brother, stupid Bao did not recognize the guru in you and thereby made a mistake." "Brother, I hurried too much. We all make mistakes," added by the prisoner. "I am Bao Sunli. Everyone who belongs to the attacking world calls me Brother Bao," the prisoner said. "My name is Jian Ming. I was set up and raped. Because of this, I was imprisoned." "Brother Bao, I just arrived here and I don't know how everything works here," said Yan Ming. "Without problems, Brother Bao will tell everything." The noise of the camera with prisoners was replaced by a pleasant summer breeze. Jian Ming is in the shadow of a lush tree, lies on the green grass, and thinks about something. Opening his eyes, he tried to understand what kind of place it was. And where is he? Where is I? I was just in the cell? What is this voice? But familiar to me, this is a voice, said Jian Ming. This is the Menyan voice. She was dressed in a magnificent white dress. Flowers were braided in her hair, and a warm wind developed her skirt, opening white lace stockings and delicate panties. "Menyan! Menyan!" Yan Ming continued to scream. "Why can't I move and speak?" "Menyan, do not run around. We are going to take a common photo," said a male voice. "Dear, come to me," she said. "Who is this next to her?" "Menyan, some beggar is looking at us. Aren't you ashamed?" the guy asked. "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" she asked. And then Jian Ming noticed that this is Van Zhitao. But why are they together? And now I feel awkward. Should we give him some money? You're very kind. This is my blessing that I have you, Van Zhitao said. Everything faded. Jian Min plunged into darkness. He was so surprised that he could not breathe. It just cannot be a reality. How could she marry Van Zhitao? It should be a dream. I'm just sleeping. Yan Ming continued to crazy. Then this girl from the hotel room appeared. This is all you. You raped me. You destroyed my life. This is all you. I hate you. I hate you. I curse you. She continued to speak. I did not do it on purpose. Jian Ming tried to say something in his defense. All that she said is true? Didn't you promise to take me to my wife in the future? The image of the teacher appeared. I was very disappointed in you. You are just a scoundrel, she added. Jian Ming was on his knees and bowed his head. 3 silhouettes of girls were behind him and threatened with a knife. Direct bastard, one of them said. And then, as if in delirium, he began to hear the words familiar songs. This song is so hard. What are these familiar words? At that moment, Jian Ming woke up. Fortunately, all this was a dream. Some old man in the cell grabbed his leg. Old man, why did you grab my leg? Asked Jian Ming, and the old man continued to sing a song. Brother Bao, have you already woken up? And what's wrong with this old man? Asked Jian Ming. This old man is always so strange. Sometimes bad, sometimes puzzled. This is not the first time he sings at night, Bao answered. He keeps my legs so tightly. Does he really think this is a guitar? Do not worry, he will go to sleep after a few songs. He does so every 2 days. He simply does not react to him and be patient, added the prisoner. Then the old man released his leg, and Jian Ming tried to understand what would happen next. The old man had a crazy look, as if he had thought something bad. Hey, old man, stop immediately. Jian Ming began to be indignant, but the old man grabbed his leg with all his strength and continued to do incomprehensible things. Surprised, Jian Ming could not understand what was wrong with this old man. Brother Bao, what is he doing? Brother Jian, just don't move. Didn't I say not to resist him? None of us could in a mission from his capture. If we begin to help you, then he will twist us too. So wait for the end of the song. Why is he sings a love song? Jian Ming could not restrain his irritation. Old man, I will start fighting if you don't let me go, added by Jian Ming. The sounds of male struggle broke the night silence. It looks like something was wrong with the walls of this institution. Finally, it ended. This old man is incredibly strong. I feel like all my bones are broken. With great difficulty, Yan Ming said. The mighty old man only cleared his throat a bit and went to go about his business. He once again looked at the motionless body. Jian Ming could not be resisted. It was completely exhausted. Climb! Get out of the bed! Faster! Hurry up! Every morning in prison it began the same. Strange. I do not feel pain after yesterday. Instead, I feel ease all over my body, Yan Ming said in surprise. Although it is more strange that this old man is so lively at night, but painful in the daytime. He walks around the territory of the prison and coughs as if he would scatter into pieces now. Brother, let's go breakfast, he said one of the prisoners, and he invited him to go to the dining room. The prisoners began to crowd in line near the distribution of food. Rice with vegetables here is the best, Bao's brother added. Hey, old man, you eat too much. But we have not eaten anything yet. Are you not afraid to die? The prisoner on the old man rushed and knocked out from him a bread cake from his hands. Jian Ming raised the cake. Why are you so clumsy? Looking at the old man, he asked. Hey you, come to me. Jian Ming turned to the prisoner. Who are you? He asked. Jian Ming grabbed the prisoner by the collar and began to push the cake right in his mouth. You wanted to eat, so eat it yourself. With a sharp movement, he stuffed the cake right into his mouth. Hey you, but stop now! The second prisoner began to intercede for him. He turned abruptly and asked him, he also shoved the cake in his mouth? To which the prisoners apologized and said that everything was in order. Jian Ming went to the old man and handed him a cake. Help yourself, this is for you, he added. Thank you, young man. The old man said timidly and reached out for the cake. Hey, you have a good heart. The prisoner who watched this turned to him from the side. This old man is not only poor but also unhappy. Added by the prisoner. I heard that he has been here for many years. Do you know anything about his past? Jian Ming asked. This old man is called Fan Chan. He was an influential figure in one town. He was framed because of the woman, and he ended up here. As a result, this woman left him and went over to the side of his enemies. Thanks for your story. Well, everything is in order. Hurry to breakfast if you want to have time to eat something else. Funny, the prisoner thought. Both of them were represented because of the woman. Meanwhile, the police station was interrogated a girl who was also framed as Yan Mina. The premises were not like an interrogation room. It was a convenient office. The assistant to the investigator asked everything about the girl. I do not want to know the personality of this person. What's the point of this? The young girl asked. This part of the procedure. You have to look at the photo and recognize a person. This is just a photo, the investigator's assistant added. The girl agreed to look at the photo. Only she examined the photos. She could not believe her eyes. Was it really the same guy who once helped her at night? The assistant to the investigator was very surprised. What do you know? She asked. Yes, I know him. How can it be? He was such a good person. Why did he do this? She told the investigator's assistant about how he gave her a large amount of money for her father's treatment. By the way, the officer said he was set. Still, he is a good person. At that moment, she thought that he helped when she needed help. Now she will help him. Officer, I want to ask. Do not put him in jail, the girl said. How can he remain unpunished? He committed such a terrible act towards you, the assistant screamed. He helped me before. I want to help him now. In addition, he was set. He is a good man. If he is a good person, then he would not do such bad things. A good person will not do this, the assistant to the investigator screamed. Stop screaming immediately, the girl asked. The investigator's assistant could not believe that she was asking him to let him go. This is already too much. Think thoroughly again. What does he mean to you? She asked, with a great degree of embarrassment on her face. The girl said that he was her boyfriend, and she is his girlfriend. You will talk about this with the boss a little later. I will no longer worry about you. I'm going to report with the boss, the investigator's assistant said. Everything is fine. Thank you, officer, for your attention and patience, the girl answered modestly. At this time, the beating of prisoners continued in prison. From everywhere, there were screams of whistles and clicks and blows. One of the prisoners screamed in pain, and someone on the contrary shouted, "Let's do it!" Embalmed prisoners thrown on Yayan Mina and Brother Bao. Brother Yang, do you need help? Bao asked. I want to play in a big thing. Come! Shouted by Jian Ming, and the prisoners began to run away from all sides. The prisoners were approaching and Jian Ming continued to beat them. They could not get closer than at the distance of an outstretched leg, as the blow in the jaw instantly flew. Stop it all! She is here! She is already here! Cried one of the prisoners. Wrangler drove up to the little white Jeep, and a girl came out of it in high leather boots. Oh, I just left for a short time to buy something, and when I returned here it became so lively. Who will explain to me what is happening? She asked. Brother Bao, you don't see a prison observer? Fire from me, I warn you, he threatened one prisoners. Brother Bao asked Yan Ming, who played him a little. I did it, said Yan Min. The older sister are finally here. Brother Ball began to tell with pity how a bald head almost killed him. I went out to play a little, and a bald head said that I took his place and called people to fight. You must protect me. Go away from the road, moron. Don't touch me. I give you 1 second. If you want me to teach you, urgently go to the prison camera, she said. Which of you young men? She asked. Let's go with me on a short trip. They ended up in a cozy office, comfortable sofas, aquarium, coffee table. She took a sip of hot tea. Yan Min, I think I should raise you better. Your preparation is pretty good. Even the chef asked me to look after you. However, you will create big problems, even if you're fed here. Today's incident is quite large, she added. Come on, raise me, as if Yan Ming said under hypnosis. She waved her long leg, and after a moment her leather boot was already near his face. Jan Ming seemed to froze in place. Fast, very fast. This is physically impossible to do for such a short period of time. Jan Ming was as if under hypnosis. Firstly, I hate when someone interrupts me. Secondly, my name is Zia. Do not forget to contact me later. Sister Zia, she said. Thirdly, if you are not completely sure of your chances, then do not start stupid fights. This world is much more than you think. I cannot move my body. My body seems to be entangled in a snake, Yang Ming said indignantly. Okay, let's talk about you. You still haven't gotten up? Are your legs numb? She asked. I am tied to the floor with a woman. This woman is very dangerous. She also has personality problems, added by Jan Ming. Do not cry, otherwise it will look like I would lift you up. Give me your hand, she said. She was just dangerous as a snake. Now behaves as if she is my sister. I have to stay from her as far as possible, thought Yan Ming. Are you afraid of me? I don't eat you, she said. Sister must be joking. Thank you, Sister Sia, but I can get up myself. I'm not joking or teasing you. Soon you will be freed, she said. What? This is true? This cannot be. Do you really want to stay here? I know that the victim took his statement. Return and put yourself in order. The chef will come to pick you up, added Sister Zia. I am so excited. Thank you for telling me good news, said Yan Min. Something else? She asked. I want to ask you something, a small request. This will not be a big problem for you, added by Jan Ming. There's one old man who shared one camera with me. He is here for a long time. He met face to face with injustice and was sent to prison. It should be very easy for the older sister of Jia. Help him be released. I know this old man. I will deal with this. Now I got it. This is the only reason why I will not punish you, she said mysteriously. In an instant she approached him and closed her mouth with her hand. Her right leg, like a sharp spear, pressed him against the wall. Remember, after talking with me, do not try to hide this strong thought in your heart, she whispered mysteriously. I do not want to see how you are afraid of me when we meet next time. In fact, I look forward to when you make a mistake again. She continued to whisper in his ear. Sister Jia, I will not make other mistakes again. But your leg rises higher and higher. This woman is too terrifying. She is not just incomprehensible, but also eccentric. Remember, no more mistakes, she added. I have to collect things. Can I leave now? Asked Jian Ming. Be careful on the road. It is not surprising that the level of reforms is the highest in this city, she said. It is not for nothing that others treat her as their ancestor when she sees her, said Yan Min. As soon as the door swung open, he urgently ran away. We must leave quickly! Run a little slower or you will fall, she said after him. This is like this child is skilled enough, he said, mysterious gentleman in a white suit. However, his character is not suitable for this, he added. He did not faint under the pressure of the king of the snakes of the sister, and restored his calm. I carefully checked his heartbeat. He did not shudder under the pressure of the king of snakes. I don't remember saying goodbye when he left. The younger brother was impolite. She added. Sister Sia plunged into her fantasies. She wanted to step a little with him next time. How can you interrupt my comments, bitch? The guy shouted in a white suit and hit her on the head, so she already bit her tongue. Who wants to listen to your senile comments? The pressure of the king of the snakes. Do not go to my kung fu with your shitty names. I do not fantasize as a child. How could you say such shameful words? Shame on you. The sister of Shia continued to scream. And how could you hit me on the head? With this cry, she struck him with a foot. A serious mess began in the room. It was difficult to make out who was strokes to whom. At the same time, they continued to swear and shout something. But then a gray-haired man intervened. Enough, enough. Behave yourself properly. Do not be naive as teenagers, he said. Would you feel shame if your younger brother recognized this? He said with his eyes closed. Master Shifu, please first put us on the ground. They began to ask. It turns out that it was the same old man who was in the cell with Yan Min. He lifted the guy and girl's feet high. Jay, that you smoke such a heavy smell of smoke can give you out during the operation? The old man said. Ha ha ha. I prepared these cigarettes for you, Shifu. I just checked their quality. They are exactly the best variety. The guy in a white suit added. Lena, have you eaten a lot of sweets recently? You have become much harder. The old man noticed. No, Shifu, these are my shoes. I strengthened them by making steel casing, she added. Do not lie. I saw how you just ate sweets. You kicked me with the other boots? Cruel bitch. I talked a little and did not calm down and cut out a cup of coffee. You must try to prevent such things. You cannot always count on me to finish it right, the old man said in a calm voice. So for sure, Shifu. At the same time, the guy and the girl were pronounced, as if they had just been very tough. I was hiding for so many years. I wonder how many people still remember. They also remember the kings of the killers. Determine the message that I am still alive. It should be very interesting, the old man said sternly. Let's play hide and seek. Will they look for me, or should I look for them first? The old man set a cigarette cigar. The police chief took Yang Mina and thanked the mistress for her attention. See you, added by Jan Ming. Forgive me for bringing you problems, forcing me to take me from here, said Yan Min. Oh, I was those who sent you here. Of course I must pick you up. The path is careful in the future, the inspector said. The inspector, the victim said that she was my girlfriend. Can you tell what happened? Asked Jan Ming. Let's talk about this in the car, the inspector answered calmly. Two girls were watching them from around the corner. Enough. He left. I don't understand why you care about such a villain. Let's just go back. Rain is quite strong, you can catch a cold, one girl said. Miss, can I go now? The affected girl asked. If you are in order, then of course go, the inspector's assistant answered. Yan Min, I'm not in debt in front of you, she thought. Heavy drops of rain fought and her umbrella fly in different directions. At that moment, John Ming sneezed. Damn, what hot girl recalls me now, he thought. Beautiful music of the piano played in the country house. Still not good enough. I have to practice more, Mr. Van said. Miss Minion will definitely be touched. Master, you play very well, the maid said. Without Yang Mina on my way, now I will definitely get the recognition of Minion, said Mr. Van. Mr. Yu will call you a phone call, added the maid. Mr. Jianming was released. He uttered a voice in a telephone tube. What? How is this possible? How do I hear the policeman from a friend that the girl took her accusations? Wang continued to scream. Crap! Freak! Shit! How can you be so unlucky? He shouted, and threw the phone on the floor. Very little time passed, and John Ming was again in the courtyard. I did not expect to return here so soon. I was absent today for several days, but for me, this time lasted like a year. I will be surprised if this bastard inflated the scandal on my expense. If he did it, then I can look into the eyes of the smaller Yang and sister of the inn. Well, judging by the passers-by, I think he did not. At the back, he heard whose very familiar voice. Marie, good morning, said Yan Min. Shut up. You dried. Where did you disappear all these days? If you continue to skip, I will no longer help you. How can you become a truant again after you have a little progress in your studies? She asked Les Yang. I feel bad, just my head was spinning. But as soon as I saw you, I felt much, much better, Jan Ming answered cheerfully. Do not talk rubbish, sharply answered the smaller Yang. This is true. Beautiful things do people happy, and happiness helps the patients recover, Jan Ming calmly answered. This bastard Van immediately approached him and pretended to be old friends. John Min, why didn't you go to school all these days? Do not give up at such an important moment, he added. I did not show photos of your crime, because I do not want to be tracked, otherwise you would not have a chance to talk to Marie, Wang thought. Ha ha ha, I will not give up. I just caught a cold. Thank you for your trouble, Ian Ming answered restrainedly. That's not all. We are now the brothers after that probably already, added Van. Speaking of that dinner, do you remember what happened after I got drunk? Asked Jian Ming. I asked the waiters to take you upstairs so that you rest. Didn't they take care of you? So you have caught a cold because of this? I'm sorry, forgive me. Bastard Van began to think that he suspects him, but he has no evidence. Ha ha ha, this is not so. I was just curious what happened. I really have to thank you for your concern for me, answered Jan Ming. I should not be so careless. As an apology, dinner next time for me, Van said. Okay, deal, answered Jan Ming. Hey, you are two when you finish your conversations. It's so disgusting, Marie said indignantly. This is not what you thought about, Marie, they answered. It won't forget me. Already almost the time is a lesson. Let's go. Jan Min, tomorrow at the school the exam begins. Good luck. She also thought that the relationship of the boys is very strange. They were enemies only a day ago, and now they behave like close friends. Maybe we will go to class together, Van asked. First I will go to the toilet, answered Jan Ming. After they parted in different directions, they thought everyone in their own. John Ming thought that revenge is a dish that is better to serve cold. The villain Van thought about what else we would see. You could not always be so lucky.